online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey,
Let the buzz begin.
Hey, Sleepy Hollow fans. Hey, maybe some Bones fans that found your way here. You're tuning into the Sleepy Hollow After Show at AFTERBUZZ TV. We are still figuring out how we feel, and so thank you for joining us to work through that. I'm Zach Wilson. Let's take a moment to listen to this.
We're playing both songs at the same time.
You can hear both. It's
so
awesome.
For those of you who are listening, you'll probably only recognize Sleepy Hollow. Do people watch Bones anymore?
Well, hold on. Let me introduce. I'm Zach, your host, Zach Wilson. You tweet me throughout the week, throughout the show at that Zach Wilson. I've got an eye on you guys in the chat room as well. And let me introduce you to my panel for this evening. As always, Jacque Borowski's here.
Holla holla.
As usual,
What's the face?
Stephen Lemieux is here.
Hey, I'm back.
Yes,
Stephen Lemieux is here making us wish he wasn't.
Per the usual. And we brought in a special guest host for tonight's show. AfterBuzz TV, one of our other hosts here, Lacretia Lyon.
Hey guys, I'm your resident Bones expert, I guess, because I'm the only one still watching.
Literally, we put out a casting call in LA and we got one response.
Yeah, actually,
that's the only way I got this job, is I was the only one who responded.
We offered like $3,000 and literally she walked up to us without wanting the money and we're like, okay, cool.
I know, I support Bones for free, apparently.
Apparently. You're the last one doing that too.
Well, we wanted to bring somebody in who had watched Bones. Like, we were very open about the fact that like it just wasn't a show that any of the three of us had ever gotten into.
You know, we had discussed this. Many times when we were talking about how weird the crossover was. And I was thinking back to other crossovers that there have been. Wasn't there like an Angels of Shield and
Angels of Shield,
Agents of Shield, and wasn't there an Agents of Shield crossover with one of their other?
Well, Agents of Shield is itself a transmedia property,
right.
in that it is built on the fact that it is part of the Marvel movie universe.
Right.
So they have had characters from the movies, but that's less of a crossover and more of just like this is a break. This is a spin-off.
Oh, they didn't have a show with crossover with Agent Carter.
No, Arrow and Flash. They did have Agent Carter, but Agent Carter was in itself like also a spin-off. So it was like a little bit different.
But what I'm just trying to say is that you usually pick two worlds that are similar, and I understand that both of these shows occur in our world, but the world of Sleepy Hollow, when you're talking about like show tone and fans, is so different from the tone and the fans of Bones that even watching it, I was noticing myself get really annoyed that they were using all this like doctor speak. I'm like, I don't care what the gazumpa dumpa is or whatever. Like, just get to the point.
The blonde guy.
There were so many words.
Felt so red. Like the blonde guy who was like, oh, that's the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, he looked like he was even, like, squinting to read it off the top.
He's, like, reading it from a note card in his pocket.
But
oh, sorry, I just have one more thing. But then it came to Sleepy Hollow, and this is how much of a, I guess, genre nerd I am. I kept, like, pausing and rewinding, and I'm like, I have to know the name of the weird rune. And I'm like, yet I don't care about the actual medical things that are probably related to something real.
I gotta know. Before we break it down, I just want to know right off the bat to see if our opinions change after talking about it. From a scale of 2 thumbs down to 2 thumbs up, where are you at with this whole crossover?
How is that a scale? What is the scale?
Thumbs away a good deal.
I mean,
it's not even like a 1 to 5. It's like a mess.
I can give an answer there, though.
You can have 0 thumbs. That's like the 5th.
I can give an answer, though. I will give this 1 thumb up.
Okay.
Because this was admittedly better than I expected. My basic overall impression right at the top of it was I get the sense that this was a network note, as I think anyone could have told you. And the network decided these 2 shows are going to be on the same night, so we're going to have them cross over now.
We knew that when he held it over candlelight and it was on a TV screen and it showed English letters poked through. You're like, okay.
But I thought that the writers of each episode did as good a job as they could have done with this weird task that they had been given.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that there was a few points here and there that I didn't think Ichabod sounded like Ichabod a few times on Bones. I can't speak for how the Bones character, and that's why Lacretia's here to speak about how they translated on Sleepy. Specifically, the Vulcan line.
I love that.
I love that.
It made me laugh, but it
Took you out of your why
it
did you
took
know
me
what
out
that
of it
is?
because when Ichabod calls out something like that, he's always proud of himself or referencing the fact where he heard it from. It was just so off the cuff. It felt like it was just part of his natural life, and it wasn't the way that a joke like that is handled on Sleepy Hollow.
We should have seen him earlier watching Star Trek.
Yes, it was too out of nowhere for me. It just wasn't quite on.
I didn't mind it. Because I feel like he's trying to fit into our world, and I didn't mind it at all.
Lucretia.
Yeah, honestly, I'm a little behind on Sleepy Hollow, but I am very familiar with Ichabod and his charm, so I liked the line, especially because I am a Star Trek nerd myself, and I was just like, oh, that's adorable, but it was just, like Ichabod makes women...
As a Bones fan, in this weird thumb scale we've been given, how and also just explain it with words. How did you feel about this episode? How did you feel about having Sleepy Hollow and Bones colliding?
Well, I feel like I'm in a therapist session because it's like, how do I feel? Well, like you said, I honestly thought it was better than I thought it was going to be because Bones is a very science-based show, and they've had like supernatural possibilities, and then it's always disproven in the end, like, zombies, voodoo, anything like that, and it's always proven to be, nope, it was just a human who did it. So it was kind of odd, but I did like that in the Bones episode that they really didn't touch on the supernatural too much to where it would just be unbelievable. So I thought that kept it in well. But yeah, like you said, the Sleepy Hollow people on Bones didn't seem like themselves per se, and I agree with they only had Booth and Brennan come over to Sleepy Hollow, and it was just, they made them a little too lovey-dovey. It's like, yes, they're a couple and they have 2 kids, but they really aren't like that.
They referenced having sex a lot.
I know, that was really awkward.
I think
not
normal. You kind of got the feeling that the Bones writers think that Ichabod just makes like not Back to the Future. What is that movie called with Brendan Fraser?
Encino Man.
No,
that's Pauly Shore.
Well, anyway,
They're not the same.
They kind of feel like Ichabod is Brendan Fraser from Blast from the Past.
Yes,
Yeah.
where he's in the bomb shelter and he meets
just
the girl from Pasadena.
And he's gonna make references that
amazing.
are funny, but like nobody really thinks they're out of nowhere. And then you think the Sleepy Hollow writers are just like, oh, Bones, they work together, but they bang. Okay, they're gonna make lots of sex jokes. Like each of the writers just have a very vague exaggeration of what each character is on the other show. I give this. Well, how many thumbs did you give it?
1.
One
Okay.
thumb up.
1 thumb up.
I'm gonna give it 1.5 thumbs up. So I give it 1.5 thumbs
How
up.
can you make the scale and then disobey it?
How did I disobey it? I have a hinge in my thumb which allows me to do halves, Zach. I could do
All right.
2 half
Continue.
thumbs up.
Just explain yourself.
So I actually really thought it was pretty good. There's a lot of times when I was watching it and I looked at Zach and I'm like, what? Especially when the random guy in the Bones episode was just like, I lost my wife 2 years ago. Like, when did you have a wife? And what the hell? Where did that come from?
Yeah, there's a couple of moments in Bones where I'm just like, hold on a minute.
Yeah,
we
had a lot.
We missed something.
The handle of the dagger in Sleepy Hollow 3 episodes ago, where it's like, wait, how do they know what the handle looks like?
But in Bones they had the portrait search database that could you could recreate from this guy's headless body what his face looked like, and then search facial recognition on all the portraits.
Well, that is the Angelatron, and basically any stupid thing that they are looking for, magically there's a database in the Angelatron.
I love this.
And the thing is the show's not based in fantasy. It's supposedly a fact, but the Angelatron seems pretty fantasy oriented.
Yeah.
So one of the main things that the biggest problem I have with the strain is that people would always be like, it's supposed to be a dumb vampire show, just go with it. And I couldn't get into it because I would always try to make it seem more intelligent than it is. When you lead up to Sleepy Hollow with something like Bones, like, it really makes you appreciate Sleepy Hollow a lot. So it made me really enjoy the episode. I don't want that to sound as bad as it did, but I really enjoyed Sleepy Hollow today.
As a Bones watcher, I completely agree that I'm like, I need to start watching Sleepy Hollow again. This is way better. But Bones checked out when Sweets did, so...
Cinematography, directing, even the writing, I was just like, I highly enjoy Sleepy Hollow. I think that might have been like the writer's way of saying, like, guys, look, we made...
It's not as bad as this.
It's not as bad as this. So, stay on board. If Bones can get 6 seasons or whatever the hell it is, give us
like
the
10
time.
or something?
Yeah, it's like in the 11th season.
Yeah.
This made me be like, you know what, I'll watch Sleepy Hollow again. Like,
Yeah.
I'll enjoy Sleepy Hollow again, because I know that there's Satan out there with other terrible shows starring Angel.
Oh, Angel.
How many thumbs, Jackie?
Going on Stephen's thumb scale, I'm actually going to do 1 thumb up and 1 thumb down. Yeah, I did that. Because you said you could do 2 thumbs up and 2 thumbs
It
down.
would even out, except for the fact that she's Jackie. So the rating stands.
I do what I want. The reason I do that is because the 1 thumb is for the things I liked in both episodes. I liked that it, as a whole, was decent. It wasn't a train wreck. Like Stephen, I appreciated Sleepy Hollow more. And the
Don't
thumbs
say
down.
like Steven after you say it wasn't a train wreck, please.
No, I
Try to avoid that
That's not what I
sentence
meant.
conjecture.
That's not what I meant. I meant like you. I appreciated Sleepy Hollow more, not like you that things are a train wreck. Anyway, there were certain things in both episodes that bugged me. In the Bones episode, I was bugged by how, and this happens with procedurals, how neatly everything was tied into. Not one person asked for their attorney, which, for those of you who probably know listening, I work for a production legal department. So I'm like, why would you not shut up and say I need representation? Instead, you just sit there and say, well, yeah, I murdered her, but I didn't really mean to. Sorry. I was like, what the F?
It was a very
F?
cliche storyline for Bones, because like it's been done on CSI, it's been done on CSI New York, it's been done on NCIS, it's been on NCIS Los Angeles with the people who are like, we're death chasers. Oh my God, one of us accidentally died. Oh, who is it? It's the person who was helping them die in the first place. Duh.
In this case, it wasn't.
Also, I'm pretty sure once he said the words, I think I should talk to a lawyer, pretty much any lawyer worth his salt could get the rest of his confession thrown out. Because they like, no, you don't need a lawyer right now. No, you have to get him a lawyer.
The other thing that bothered me was we have the Sean Patrick, what's his last name?
Thomas,
Not
it's
Flannery.
not Powder.
It's Sean Patrick Thomas, who had a part with Julia Stiles in that Save the Last Dance, was it called? And then he was in Cruel Intentions. He was like the big guy in like every 90s movie.
He was the token black guy in every movie. Like, because it was She's All That. And they even joke about it in Not Another Teen Movie, how he's like, the other guy's like, I'm supposed to be the only black guy at this party. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry, man.
Well, speaking
actually
speaking of token black guys, we opened up the episode with
Of Sleepy Hollow.
of both, I guess, with these kids, and I'm getting into the actual storyline now.
Yes.
where Walt from Lost was throwing a kegger in a church.
Yeah.
I feel like he learned nothing from the island.
I know. What would Michael think?
I think I literally turned to Steven. Steven, it's Walt, and Steven had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah, sorry guys, I don't like shows that end badly.
It didn't. It's great. Not for tonight. So that kicks out. That's how they found the body. That eventually turned out to be General Howe.
So random
Which
church.
I'm so mad it was not headless.
Yeah.
I really, really, really wanted it to
I
be
would have
headless.
loved Frankenstein.
Yeah.
No, Frankenstein's like that's the thing is like they reveal this body. I'm like, it can't be Abraham Van Brunt. We know what happened to his body. We know where his head is on Frankenstein. His body is trapped in Pandora's box.
Yeah.
So it can't be him. As much as I want Headless back on this show, he's not even in our graphic anymore.
Yeah, we just got trees.
Goddamn trees.
We just got hashtag evil trees.
Hashtag evil trees. Make it happen.
We
Let's
couldn't
hope it
afford,
doesn't happen
couldn't
like an
afford
Evil
anything more
Dead.
than trees in our budget.
I do like though that moment in Bones when they drop the pumpkin and it lands on the head, so it looks like the headless horseman character with the pumpkin head.
It was so
from Sleepy
gimmicky, but I
Hollow.
loved it.
It was amazing.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cheesy,
I mean,
but
I was
adorable.
I was all about that.
Let me throw this out there because you mentioned the pumpkin head, guys. People in the chat, I do a network called Popcorn Talk where we do watch-alongs for TV shows. If me, Jackie, and Zach did a watch-along where we'd watch the Sleepy Hollow with
Johnny Depp one?
Yes!
together,
Oh,
would you
yeah.
guys watch that with us? Would you guys do that? Just answer in the chat, comment below, because I want to know, because if there's enough of you that want it, we'll do it like next week and just watch it with us.
Oh, that
Yes.
sounds fun.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I'd watch it.
Ridiculous.
I love Walking Man.
All right.
Your head
but
is off your body.
General Howe.
Crazy.
General Howe.
Lost it somewhere.
General Howe, jumping forward, is eventually brought back to life via a
Medallion.
A medallion full of
Pog.
maggots.
A pog,
Yeah.
basically.
Hey,
By-
I was all about that pog. I had to write it down. It's a Uruz? I can't read my own handwriting.
Uruz, Nordic.
Uruz Nordic rune.
Basically written in the language of Dovahkiin of the Walking Dead man.
It just looked like Friday the 13th Part 6 whenever Tommy brings Jason back by just stabbing his maggot body.
If you're getting like a heat stone massage
Yeah.
and they put that on you accidentally, I imagine.
It's pretty much
Well,
a
shenanigans.
resounding
So that
yes
sounds cool.
in the chat room.
Okay.
But basically, she brings him back to life after she force chokes the driver. And you get the little like Bones nod with the little close up of the thing.
It's nothing personal.
And I like that
She
Pandora's
didn't
little
kill
speech.
him. She didn't kill him.
She didn't.
And people in chat are like, are Zach finally going to believe that she's not evil? I'm like, no, she's still good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Darius in the chat roll said, so are Zach and Steven willing to admit Pandora is evil now? She stole candy from that little girl.
And was that little girl dressed like the woman from Empire?
Cookie.
That's
She
what
was
I'm
totally
She was Cookie.
Yes!
And was Abby Beyonce? Or,
Fox,
like,
we already
yeah.
put Bones and Sleepy Hollow together. Enough synergy.
Yeah.
I also like that Jenny
Never
was a
got
Canadian
synergy.
Mountie because
She's Canadian.
yeah, she's Canadian.
Oh, that really confused me because I've always had the hots for Dudley Do-Right. So now I'm sexually confused.
I'm sorry, I just damaged
Yeah.
my foot on this.
I don't doubt it.
But that was a really funny moment with the little girl.
But-
Yeah.
To
Just
the point.
on that point though, like I watched the other last week's episode today too, and they called them New Palatim or something like that. New Palatem.
I don't know what you're referring to.
The other witnesses.
Oh,
Pandora calls
yeah,
them,
yeah.
which means destroyers in whatever Farsi or whatever.
Sumerian.
Sumerian. So
Farsi?
What the crap?
just go with it. So they're the destroyers. So back to like episode 2, and we're like, well, what if she needs them to destroy the evil that she brings out of the box? It seems to be helping her more than hurting her that they're destroying these things. Every time they destroy one, a new flower blooms, and she's happy. Just saying.
That is true. She is. Pandora is enjoying them taking care of these evil things that she sends at them. It could be that she sees it as a game, that she's toying with them while she readies whatever this evil tree is. But there's more to her story.
I
There's
do
more
think-
than just she wants to kill the two of them.
And they're building up what's her face, the love interest for Ichabod right now.
Oh,
Zoe. They're building up Zoe, and they've gotten to her point. It's the first time we've gotten like some actual interest out of Ichabod. The last line of the episode is her saying, finally the last flower, love. And I'm just like, oh man, Zoe's gonna die!
I mean, you missed last week. I basically predicted Zoe's unfortunate death right around mid-season, followed by a time travel Betsy Ross to modern day.
I do predict that maybe not that it's up to her, but I predict that something happens where she becomes evil. And I don't see it as like a Katrina where she chose to be evil. I see it more as she will be stuck into a position where maybe she has to do something bad to Ichabod.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Well, let's talk quickly about while we're on Zoe. Unlike
I totally
Ichabod.
brought you off subject. I'm sorry.
No. We want to talk about Zoe, and like we might as well do it because it was a really quick scene. We don't have texts and stuff to go over. There's a quick little Instagram. But nothing huge.
Somebody called her Betsy Hussey.
Can you imagine being Ichabod and you the girl you're like crushing on, you run to her and she's cosplaying as your ex-girlfriend?
That's pretty. It was. Yeah. I thought actually like.
What, a mind duck?
I thought that was pretty funny.
I feel like Justin Timberlake runs into that problem a lot.
Probably.
Oh,
I thought it was funny because
stop shaving your heads. I'm not into that.
I thought it was funny because the show was making fun of itself. It was doing something that I love when fantasy television shows or sci-fi or whatever.
That it did in season 1.
Yeah.
Went back to that.
When it makes fun of itself because it can't take itself too seriously. So it knows it made Betsy Ross unnecessarily sexy, and it basically is saying, hey, we did that. Hey.
Yeah. And she's like, oh yeah, she's, she was just a knitter, blah, 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 so I had to make it a little risque. It's like, Ichabod's like, ooh, if only you knew.
Yeah, I mean, we basically are just pretending that Zoe is Caroline's twin sister at this point. Like, and that's fine.
Right.
That's fine. Fix the mistakes that we had. The redhead.
Caroline the redhead who died.
Immediately?
Yeah, that everybody instantly loved and then they murdered.
But yeah, it was a great scene. I'm very excited to see where they go with Zoe's storyline. Whatever it is, it feels like they're building somewhere interesting, and they're not just. This isn't just a love interest to have a love interest. This is going to have an effect on Ichabod's life in good ways and bad ways.
This would segue into the thing in the Sleepy Hollow episode that irritated me is that we always have this like unnecessary scrutiny on just Ichabod's love life when we have other characters who are like, people are like, you guys are like, it's because Ichabod's attractive. Everyone in this friggin' cast is attractive. And so we don't focus really, like Jenny up until, I mean, even when we shipped Fringe Anarchy Merle thing.
Hell yeah.
They didn't actually have any sort of like romantic whatever. Ichabod's the only character on the show who has actually, I think, kissed another character on the show in like a romantic way.
Well, Jenny and Holly last season.
Yep.
I mean, judge it how you will, but like
true.
they did hook up.
All it takes is saying
but
his name
I mean, we have Abby, and
I'll
there is a stereotype of the strong, silent, like black woman, and I think that we're getting kind of dicey into that territory because we're not having her. We've established that she had a sexual relationship with her boss before he was her boss, and we haven't really touched on that again. And then she seems to be like unnecessarily cheering him on into this dating thing when I do believe that like we as women do that and men don't really do that at all. Like we do that because we think it's a way of being supportive, but she was doing it too much to the point where I'm like, that's just weird, especially because they had so many like Ichabod moments in the this isn't just an Ichabod thing.
No, but let me speak to that real quick because throwing out the relationship thing, I think it's funny because we had the Bones episode where they just every moment was bringing up like, oh, you guys should get married. It's great. It's amazing. Have sex. Have sex. Have sex. 'Cause that's what we're doing.
We're not like Ichabod's like, we're not together like that, and like, you should really consider it. Whoa, you just met these people.
I think
It was just so odd.
I think the interesting thing is if you look at them as human beings, two single people who are just friends, there's going to be some level of sexual tension between them. But if one of them becomes not single, it goes away. You're like, okay, I'm not worried anymore because I don't have to worry about it. So I think there is that sexual tension there because they are both single and they both are connecting well. But I feel like Abby doesn't want that, and I don't think Ichabod wants that. So I think, okay, let's cheer Ichabod on because he hasn't had anyone since his bitch wife that didn't do anything for 2 seasons. So you know what? He needs somebody who will hopefully not die within 3 episodes from now.
But
he
why
needs
isn't
somebody.
he cheering Abby?
Because
Abby.
he doesn't know
do
about
that.
Reynolds really. He doesn't interact with Reynolds at all except for
And
that one
let's
time.
not
my
approve
theory-
of that. That's going to have all kinds of problems.
I
at
know,
work.
but my theory that he's doing that is because he actually remember in the first episode when he got a little like miffed when he met her boss, and he wanted the boss to assume that they were like sexual partners, and then Abby was like, no, we're just roommates. I think he wants it more than she does.
Well, that's
Just throwing that out there.
I don't think either of them want it, but
assuming
you know
people
where, you
want
guys know
something
where I
is how.
stand.
Well, let's not get into that conversation.
So how about we get back to the Jogger storyline?
I love the joggers. They looked like I'm not going to say it because it's a potential spoiler if you don't watch Game of Thrones. But they also look just like the joggers from
Spoiler?
Oblivion.
It's like the first
White
5
Walkers.
minutes.
They look like
That's the
White
first
Walkers. It's
5
okay.
minutes of the pilot.
It's a spoiler if you haven't started the No, but the
Don't come here if you haven't seen Game of Thrones.
if you guys
I guess.
watch
No, you
Skyrim,
can come.
if you guys have played Skyrim or if you've played any of the Morrowind story, like the
Played any
Draugrs,
Dungeons and Dragons ever, you know what a Jogger is. I like that they got that monster in there. It's funny because like in games like Skyrim, like they're like really weak, boring characters. Most like the regular ones are, which I guess was the soldiers. But I liked this version, especially the idea that they're like made of maggots and they can like shoot underground.
That's my favorite thing. I was like,
So
they're
weird.
super groundhogs.
that was pretty cool. Ren Einsburn in the chat says, "I'll be Matt for a sec. Don't use the B word."
Yeah, I was gonna call you out on it, but let's not. That's the thing. Here, most of the time, I would say don't ever use that. Don't call women that. But Katrina, not just because, not for any. She was evil.
Yeah.
She straight up tried to
did
kill
become
people.
evil. Yes, she did try.
So
to kill
I will
people.
not be defending
She
her.
was doing some pretty B-related things.
I'm sorry, guys. She had red hair. You didn't see it coming?
I'm gonna put a kibosh on
Hey,
that
on the
comment.
amazing show Under the Dome, there were some very nice redheads.
Amazing show under the
Well,
door.
Rachel LaPrep is very pretty.
Just
and
like
she
you
can
shouldn't
play
say like a train wreck and then say me, you shouldn't say like the amazing show Under the Dome.
I just want people to watch my after show.
But so yeah, the Joggers were a great villain. I love the march through town.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
good. That's exactly how people would react.
Yeah.
Oh, on
they
Halloween,
would. They would
yeah.
think it's a costume.
Especially
that's so
in
cool.
Sleepy Hollow. Like, anywhere in the Northeast, really. Like, if you saw Colonial Soldiers, you'd be like, that's awesome.
That's awesome cosplay.
I especially just, that, to me, was Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Like, that was so Sleepy Hollow to have colonial era soldiers, to have red coats walking through a Halloween celebration about the Jogger red coats walking through a Halloween celebration about to kill a whole bunch of people, and then an SUV stops the musket rounds. That is Sleepy Hollow in a nutshell.
Yeah, and they didn't give him assault weapons, which I was happy with. I like that they kept the muskets. Yeah. Pandora wasn't all about like, hey, we're gonna beef you up like when we gave freaking the Headless Horseman a goddamn shotgun.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Let's be like, this was perfect for what it was, but Headless with a shotgun and an axe on his back was the greatest thing Sleepy
Did you
Hollow
see the
has ever
Lilu
done to
costume?
date.
Somebody was in a Lilu costume.
I didn't see
Fifth
that. I
Element.
didn't see that. That's amazing.
It was
yeah.
just very brief.
It was very satisfying. And like I think they don't really need Bones to have episodes like that.
But
No,
I did appreciate, there were certain things in Bones that I appreciate. I love that Ichabod got all geeky that he could access all of their archives, and then it turns out that we have this document where they match with his handwriting, and it was Ichabod's handwriting because
I guess handwriting is genetic, perhaps. Maybe you've never seen it before.
There was
love
a
that
great
moment.
exchange. What did you think of Lacretia, of how they handled the whole segment on Bones?
I actually really love because like every time he was talking, Bones is just looking at him like he's a complete retard.
Yeah, she's
like
so
that
annoyed
part
by
I just
him.
loved. She's just like, he's so annoying. This is so just not the truth. Yeah.
To me, the best part of that is that she's like that. She's the weirdo in the relationship.
Yeah.
They keep paralleling how her and her husband are like Abby and Ichabod. So it's like she's the weirdo in that relationship, but so is Ichabod. But they're so annoyed by each other.
She clearly doesn't get like modern society in her own weird way. Ichabod has more of an excuse for not understanding it.
No, but I wanted to hear I felt like I cut you off.
Oh yeah, well basically, like the thing with Bones is she's very literal, very scientific. I mean, they've had throwaways like with voodoos and zombies and, you know, all these like supernatural like leanings, and she's just like, nope, always proves it wrong. So yeah, that was why she's basically calling him a liar and an idiot, and I love that because that was very spot on with the character. It certainly took away from the weird sex comments that were just so not. I'm like, Bones is very open and blunt, but you know, it almost felt like Anya on Buffy and not Bones. Like,
Yes, we should have sex now.
Yeah.
I did like Angel's, all of the dialogue between Angel and Ichabod was always funny. He always looked like he was about to laugh talking with Ichabod. The one thing that I did have a problem with this episode was the Greek fire.
Really?
Because
Well, I'm curious because I had an issue with it too.
Greek fire is not a gaseous fire. It's a liquid that's on fire. It's oil and tar mixed together with different chemicals that literally just stays on fire because you can't put it out because it's like, well, you put water on it, it just spreads it. So for them to have things in the ceiling shooting down this fire, it would literally be filling the floor with fire. It wouldn't just like stop before it hit their heads.
Well, you're talking about real world Greek fire.
Yes.
This is the mystical thing behind that, and I think that's what Sleepy Hollow does on the regular basis, is to take what we know in the real world to be X and it's actually Z, because of all these crazy stuff, and so it's magic fire. What threw me off a little bit about how it was handled, and this just goes to the Bones Sleepy Hollow crossover that doesn't quite work, is that, and I give the writers credit for this is about as good as they could have done it, is they managed to, within 5 minutes, do an explanation for both audiences that completely contradict each other, because they're both treated as if they're right. Bones has this whole thing that it's just napalm, and the show treats it as if she totally nailed it.
Yeah.
It's totally in napalm. Then they cut to the next scene, and Ichabod's, she was not right at all. It was not napalm. It's actually this magic Greek fire shooting from the ceiling.
I also like while the walls are not closing in, but the door is like, oh, this is one of those locks that has to do with alchemy. It was like just bang, 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 bang. No
I
waiting.
did.
Yeah,
That was a Harrison Ford against the whip
the guy.
Yeah.
I really wish they didn't put that in the preview though. Like that was a fun moment of the show.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't see in the preview because it would have surprised me.
What was in the preview?
When he pulls out his gun and just shoots the door and it opens.
Oh yeah, I think I had forgotten about it until he did it, and then I was like, oh wait, I have seen that before.
Who are you gonna call? 4th century BC.
Aww.
I mean, and that was very Angel. If we're gonna go with that, he just, that's his character on Bones. He's very just like, like Harrison Ford. He just busts in, shoots stuff. He's a guy.
Angel's the
One
man
guy.
for the job.
Yeah.
So their whole plan is to bring the joggers into the tunnels. And luckily for them, they're literally giant mole people and can enter the tunnels at will. So Ichabod jumps down there leading General Howe. I really liked the scene in the past with General Howe, though. The actor did a great job with Ichabod in that scene.
His voice was like sexy.
Well, because it's like everything that Ichabod explains about what he thinks of the general is like, this was a guy who was very steadfast. He owned the room. It's someone I looked up to. It's someone I worked for, and he was a brilliant strategist. If if Ichabod had held the gun to his head and be like, "Oh, fine, I'll retreat," or if he lied to him or something, like, I wouldn't have been like, how could Ichabod really think this of this guy? But the guy's like, you're either gonna shoot me or you're not, because I'm not going anywhere, I'm not retreating, and I'm taking this damn country and killing all of you goddamn Americans or settlers, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, I really did like that scene because it really put things in perspective with how their relationship was and how Ichabod did look up to this guy as a leader.
Yeah.
Reminded me of in Hell on Wheels with the general who became president. I'm totally...
That's a very good show, and you should watch it.
Are you being serious?
I am.
No,
I'm
yeah, I
very
like it.
serious.
I-
I'm very serious.
I interviewed the lead of it a few or like last year, and he had his dog on the table knocking over my water for the first 15 minutes.
Oh, Anson.
Anson,
I
yeah,
love Anson
It was
Mount.
pretty hilarious. Check that out.
Okay.
Stand-up guy.
Okay, so still a lot to cover in this episode. So we talked about them getting out, like finding the little hidden place under the Capitol building, which was great. We got to go to like a historic location, which we don't do on a lot of Sleepy Hollow, and I like doing that.
Speaking of which, so the church that they find the bodies in, is that the same Henry Parish church that was in the middle of nowhere? Because they reference this church in the middle of nowhere.
I don't think it was.
I
don't think it was, but I thought that too. But it didn't look the same.
But by the end of the episode, they figured out how to weaponize the Greek fire.
Woo! With Cairo siphons or whatever they're called.
Is that what they call them?
I don't remember. They look like giant asparagus.
Cairo siphon or whatever it is.
They looked like those giant like pool noodle guns.
Yes!
So these are actually
Yeah.
a real thing, guys. I want to tell you this. So Greek fire was, they had the recipe made while Alexander the Great was in power. I believe it was Alexander the Great. I might be wrong. And he figured out the recipe, and only he had the recipe plus his chemists. Well, what they did was they would load it into the boats, and whenever the boats got into a match or whatever, like a fight with other boats, they would pull up next to them and use these chirosiphons on the side of the boat to funnel it out so it creates a pressure that shoots it away from the boat they're on onto the boat that they're trying to shoot it at. And then the fire can't be put out, so the boat sinks. So the point of them was to have enough liquid up here to create enough pressure to shoot it further enough that it would light the boats on fire and not light their own boats on fire. Alexander the Great took that recipe for Greek fire and destroyed it so nobody else could use it again because he didn't want it to be used against them because they had the strongest navy.
Very interesting.
And nobody actually knows the real recipe for it. That's why it's kind of cool it's in the show. Nobody knows exactly what was in Greek fire.
This history lesson brought to you by Stephen Lemieux.
I learned something today.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Bones, I learned all sorts of words I never knew.
And I still don't know them
And I still
after
don't know
watching
them.
the episode.
It was a point where are they always like this? Where they are
yeah.
like, big word, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Angel
Bones
just
even
doesn't
makes a
understand it.
rap with her child of what the actual names for them bones. Like, because, she is an anthropologist, so therefore, like, them bones, that song is just, oh my god, it's awful. So she enlists the black intern to help her write a rap for her child to learn the actual names for the bones.
Oh my god.
It's that specific.
I feel like anytime
Yeah.
they start doing it, Bones fans are just like, eyes go wide and you're staring ahead and you're like, what is
Angel
they
seems
saying?
pretty
Oh, we're
racist.
back to
Yeah.
English
But
words?
you were saying earlier that they make up for this by being character driven.
Yeah, Bones is obviously a procedural, but it's very much like Castle, where, you get it, it's procedural, but you watch every week for the characters. Like, a lot of people came over from Buffy just because we love, Angel, and he's on the show. And so there is a little bit of the fantasy element, so it wasn't too far out of left field, but yeah.
I mean, what are you going to say?
I was laughing just because some people are like, people are enjoying that you keep calling him Angel.
Oh, we are going to call him Angel.
We came up with that ahead
Yeah.
of time.
And if he ever sees this episode, he will never talk to us again. But if you guys want to talk to us
Yeah.
a lot more than you do now,
There's a great way to
do
do
it.
that, and it's on iTunes. Guys, thank you so much for always rating us, reviewing us on iTunes. It's a huge help. I love that you guys have done, because there's a whole bunch of new reviews that we haven't gotten to. Brittany Crane says, loves it. Edit, LOL. Ashamed to say I'm new to the podcast world. I love Sleepy Hollow and watched it religiously since day one. Recently discovered this podcast, and I've listened to both seasons in less than 4 days. Well, now there's a third season for you to enjoy.
She says, Lagude. All right, our engineer's putting notes on the thing for it. She also says, hashtag Corbini maybe, and bring back Purgatory Prom.
I actually heard, though, that their official ship name is Joanie.
Joanie?
Yeah, Joanie.
Joanie.
I feel like
That's
I'm
that's tough.
We can sing the Sweeney Todd song called Joanna, except Joanie.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Jorbin?
I do like
love
that you've
Sweeney
seen
Todd.
Kenny?
I love
Sweeney
it.
Todd.
Kenny?
Book Girl 1981 says, I listen to this podcast every week, exclamation point times 4. Love the host, exclamation point times 7. However, I do find them a bit negative on the show sometimes. One major negative that is constantly brought up is that a lot of characters tend to immediately be attracted to Crane. Hello, exclamation point times 4. He has a British accent, is completely hot, exclamation point times 3, plus 3 T's. Who wouldn't, exclamation point times 5. I don't find this hard to believe at all, exclamation point, other than I do love this show, and keep up the good work, exclamation point times 5.
My point wasn't that Ichabod isn't hot. It's that you have a cast full of people who are hot.
Well, he has hockey hair and a British accent. And you put the queen on your money.
I mean, once they brought in Joe Corbin, I was like, I don't know, Ichabod. I might switch to Team Corbin. I might actually swwitch to Team General Howe at this point.
Zach has a
Damn.
question for you.
What?
Zach has a question for you.
I was just going to finish shout-outs so we can get back to the show.
Yeah.
Just to blow through a little bit of Monica says, where's Jackie?
I like that.
That was the question.
Here I am.
I was teeing you up, Zach.
But she, love you guys, but you really need Jackie around to curtail terrible ideas like bringing sexy Betsy to the present.
I don't want to see that.
I'm not saying I want it. I'm saying I think that's where we're going. To be clear, that's just a prediction for what I think is going to happen on the show. There's a bunch more, but just getting through. Lex888 says, great podcast, great new panel. Michael B85 says, love you guys.
As opposed to what?
Yeah.
We have been the same panel, pretty much.
We're still
We just-
young.
That might
guess.
be a veiled I hate Matt Lieberman comment. I think.
Veiled.
I'll text him after the show, let him know that.
Love you guys by Michael B85. What did Pandora mean that Abby and Crane were different from the others? The other witnesses, the same commit by giving by Orion, saying that the witnesses was only to observe the end of days.
I want them to bring back Orion because I feel like Orion had some of the same points that Pandora brings up.
From one sleepyhead to another says, great podcast to compliment a great show. I found this podcast as for another Sleepy Hollow podcast I listened to. Stop doing it.
Bam! Halfway through season 2, they just dropped it.
Well,
We like pain.
I'm glad I found you guys. The crew is top notch and wonderful. Steven is hilarious because of his puns and his not so subtle adult humor quips he does from time to time. He does them all the time. Zach and Jackie are amazing as well, and the whole crew works together perfectly. Their theories are very creative, interesting, and sometimes crazy that the idea of them never crosses my mind. And there's a bunch more you can read.
I like this, though. I hope the
Okay.
Sleepy Hollow writers listen to your podcast and listen to your theories. If they did, this show could last for a very long time, like 10 seasons or possibly even longer, because it would make it that much more compelling.
All right, let's
Bones
take a
went
look
11,
at
so.
let's take a look at Bones and see maybe
Yeah.
we cap it at like 6 or 7. All right, let's get thank you to everyone who's been rating and
I just
reviewing.
want-
I also want to give a shout out to people who also comment on the YouTube videos. We love those comments. Someone who was commenting there from like a holistic health center was commenting on it, and I just thought that was cool because I was like, "Hey, you like our show too," and it seemed like an unlikely fan.
Yeah, it's
They
all,
also
I
believe in
love
fantasy.
hearing from you guys.
I like holistic health. I'm down with it.
But let's get back to the episode because we're running low on time. I want to talk about how everybody seems to know August Corbin.
Yes.
no.
That Booth from Bones
Yes.
You
is
referred
like
to him
old
as what?
Angel.
Yeah.
Angel. I'm sorry. It's just it's so ridiculous. I lost my head. How the hell does he know August Corbin?
Because writing for the hell of it, that's why.
No.
Like, but it seems like everyone on the show this year has because whoever Jenny and Corbin Jr.'s like freckly Latina friend is.
Freckles,
She
that's
hasn't told us her name yet. I don't know what to call her.
The fans actually
Not Tate
do.
from
The
Lost.
fans do know her name, and she's been made a series regular. We'll retweet it again, but
I mean, I haven't even looked at IMDb. I wanted her to say it on the show. I want to like learn that.
the fans
naturally.
only know it because they did a press release. I don't think it's actually been mentioned on the show.
No, it hasn't. That's the thing is they
Yeah.
specifically have not called out her name.
Yeah.
Anyway, whoever her boss is apparently knows August Corbin as well, or knew August.
Well, he's the head of this like underground dealing ring, which is interesting because according to what Jenny knows about him, that would kind of put him at odds with Corbin, but they were like war buddies or something.
I said this to Zach to write a note of it, but I just remembered it. It's interesting because last episode we had Jenny talking to Abby and talking about their dad and things like that. Now you have Abby's looking for their father and to try to find some good in him and trying to see if he is a different man than she remembers. And we can what's the word I'm looking for? We can compare that. We can form a comparison of that with Jenny had her father figure. Jenny had August Corbin, who was the greatest man ever in her mind, the best. He
But
really
Abby
cared
had
about
him too.
I know. Well, Jenny was the one that really like was with August as a father figure. But you look at it, and now she's finding out all this new stuff that maybe he's not. So you have Abby trying to find out that her father was someone she's not, that he wasn't to her, and Jenny's finding out now that her father figure is someone that he may not have been to her.
Yeah, it's a great parallel. I'm very interested to see who this guy is. They're building him up as a mystery. What if it is their dad?
No, but they showed a picture of him and it doesn't match. Doesn't it not match the
just a white
picture?
I don't
It doesn't
know.
match because I thought the picture that
It's all red herrings.
not that you can rule out like not that you could have ruled out like they could have had a white guy play their dad, but the pictures that Abby has of her dad, I thought they were of an African American guy.
Yes, they were.
But
They
you
were.
know how they take this and go like this? Ooh, full circle. Reynolds is investigating, and the team that Abby was invited to be on, the strike team or investigation team, is investigating Nevin because he's the head of this entire operation that Jenny just tried to set up a meeting with.
That's
Yeah.
true. He's
and
very
now,
angry.
Abby's got some splaining to do.
Oh, girl, you got some
Which
space
to
to
me
do.
it does seem like a little unfair that if he supposedly knows her so well, and you would assume at some point they talked about how her and her sister had a falling out for years. I would assume that. I would assume that the level of friendship / romantic relationship they had, their personal lives would have been discussed. So it seems weird to me that he's like jumping down her throat for her sister's actions when their friendship is relatively new. Like their rekindling is relatively new. So it seems unfair.
Don't use too much kindling around Greek fire.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my god.
You know, I had a run-in with Greek fire once, and she was mighty fine.
Thank God that character's gone.
He'll be back.
He's like a bad penny. He's always turning up.
You can't kill Holly. Case will always flare up once in a while.
Oh my god.
yucky.
Speaking of
Yucky.
things flaring up, before we head out, I think we're gonna have to take a little trip.
Oh, did you tell her about
I
it?
did not, so
Oh,
this is gonna be
no.
fun because as we go on a little journey to Sleepington Abbey.
You have to explain it. You have to say things that are very scandalous, but in a British accent.
This week on Sleepington Abbey, universes collide as those of Bonesville come to Sleepington Abbey for a visit. I say, Mrs. Bones and Mr. Booth were constantly discussing their love life and pressing their views on both Miss Mills and Mr. Crane that they should fornicate in public.
Scandalous!
Scandalous indeed.
I saw Ichabod Crane holding a bowling ball while talking to a woman of the opposite gender. Worst of all, she was dressed up like the nation's flag bearer, Betsy Ross, while showing ankle.
Most scandalous.
The characters from the Bones world specifically did not believe in the supernatural, which I felt was very scandalous.
Most scandalous indeed.
Well, I'm guessing I'm going to have to do a really bad British accent and talk like this. But to me, if you're going to be fighting zombies, I think you should find a better choice of a chiseled jaw. Geek God, where was Bruce Campbell with all the Evil Dead references?
This is very
Scandalous.
Bruce Campbell
Scandalous.
was busy because on Sunday, October 31st, Saturday, Ash vs. Evil Dead premieres on Starz. That was a selfless live read because we're doing the after show, and I might get to meet Bruce Campbell because I really want to. But one last one.
I wanted that show.
As a medical student at a school, one of my classmates was trying to die, then be revived again. But when her boyfriend did it and didn't see anything, he was angry and took a skull off of the cadaver and beat his girlfriend's face in.
Without a lawyer.
Most horrifying.
And no one knew that guy was gay, even though he talked like this.
I know, that was so random. I was like, I'm gay, so you're wrong. I lost my wife, so you're wrong.
That's unfair. You don't know everybody else's life. Somebody's truth might be gay and still.
I saw that the
Well,
Sleepy
the thing
Hollow
is,
after
you
show
can-
was 1 minute
Not
over the hour.
on topic in the slightest.
Well, you can be alone. There was so much faulty logic happening, but you can be alone with someone and say that night was crazy without it meaning something sexual. So he's like, I'm gay, and that solves everything. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Stop.
Okay, before we get out of here, let's do a quick round of predictions.
There we go, quick one.
TV prediction.
She's still good. I still think that she's good. All right, Pandora, evil as she may look, you know what? Don't judge a book by its cover.
By its
all right?
snaky face
She's got
cover.
a box and stuff's coming out of it, and they're destroying it. And Ichabod and Abby are gonna be all up in that box destroying stuff.
I'm clutching my
Not
pearls.
scandalous
I am
over what he
clutching
just
my
said.
pearls.
All right.
I don't even. Nobody
The
knows what's
sexual
going
innuendo
In
is
her
on.
box, I
obvious.
was just like, what?
No one knows what's
Jackie,
there.
what are you thinking?
I do predict that something's gonna happen. Not necessarily that Zoe is evil, but I predict that she might be blackmailed or have her mind controlled or something, where she'll be appearing evil to them.
Or just becomes evil, gets
Yeah.
corrupted. I mean, who knows what is next in Pandora's box? What she
Or who?
What
last
else
thing-
will come
All
out
right.
of her box?
The last
I
thing she's
agree.
got left is love in her box.
I agree with Stephen. I still think that there is more to Pandora. I don't think she is straight up evil. I think she is misguided. We saw more of her like reptile face coming through in this episode. So I think we're gonna see her in her true like crazy Pandora form soon. So Lacretia, do you have any ridiculous words knowing nothing about this going forward? Or a Bones prediction?
Well, I predict that hopefully Bones will end this season, and I'll start watching Sleepy Hollow again because
You
I'm
can
just
watch both.
I know.
If you guys want to make your own Pandora's box for Halloween, there's 3 easy steps.
No, cut it
All right,
off.
guys, thank you so much for joining us here at AfterBuzz TV. Until next week, Jacque
hole in the
Borowski,
box.
where can the people keep up with you?
My website, 123jackieb.com. That's where my Twitter, my Instagram, my blog is. I don't know why I said it that way.
Stephen Lemieux.
Just follow 123Jackie_B on Twitter so she can get as many followers as I am, so I can't say that anymore.
Steven shoved it in my face. I have more followers than you.
And follow me at Stephen Lemieux, STPHNLEMAIUX.
Well, you can follow me anywhere at Lacretia Lyon because there is no one else, and that is LACRETIALYON. And see me at the Comedy Store this Saturday night. Yes, Halloween at 7:30 in the Belly Room.
All right, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Lacretia.
Thank you guys for having me.
You guys can tweet at me throughout the week, throughout the show, on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson, and also here at AfterBuzz on a whole bunch of shows, including Doctor Who, The Leftovers, and starting this Sunday, Grimm comes back. Yay, Grimm! I'm so excited for that, guys. I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks
Thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Good night, sleepyheads.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.